Community Podcast. My name is Estelle Lucas, and today we'll be going through stories with sex workers. That is the point of this podcast as part of the economic empowerment educational model for sex workers. I believe that storytelling is a great way to learn, and I want to bring in as many different diverse voices from sex workers to understand our financial experiences, to troubleshoot and learn from each other. But before we begin, I just want to start with a disclaimer and say that nothing in this podcast episode is financial advice, and that sex workers are a diverse population. Not everyone's story is going to be relatable, but I think that if we share enough stories, we will be able to hopefully help most workers out. So with no further ado, welcome to our first guest, Gina Sinclair.
Hello, good morning, Estelle.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for traveling all this way. I specifically headhunted you for the first sort of interview for the Bigger Sister Channel podcast, and there's a reason for that, and that reason is I know Gina, and I'm very impressed with her sort of more regimented approach towards finance, which is not relatable to me because I'm a bit chaotic. And I'm just very impressed, and I want to learn from people like you. I think, I aspire to be like you, and I want to unpack and learn and really see how you came to be who you are, and how you developed such a controlled and positive approach to personal finance.
I have been a big admirer of you and your work, so I'm very flattered when you invited me. And
Cute, we love each other.
We do.
We're so impressed by each other.
I have a very simple and very basic traditional approach in terms of finance.
Yeah.
I believe that's come from my family upbringing and my culture. I'm a migrant to this country.
Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and your culture? Just so.
Sure. I grew up in a traditional family, and
traditional for where?
A Chinese family.
All right.
And I came to this country more than 15 years ago. So it's been a little while. Yeah. My money concept has probably was instilled when I was little.
What did that look like? Like, what did they tell you?
Debt is not good. Don't owe any money. You save up before you buy anything.
Right.
So you live within your means at all times.
Okay. And is that like normal for Chinese culture?
Yes.
Would you say? Okay.
Definitely, especially 30, 40 years ago.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, maybe things are relaxed a little bit more. But yes, that's definitely a part of our culture and my family upbringing.
Okay, I can so relate to that because I feel like my approach to finance has also been like probably the biggest influence has been my family, my culture, and my upbringing. And I think until we really think about how that has impacted us, we're not really going to understand where our behaviors come from or our beliefs. And I also think that maybe the inverse is true. So like if you learnt something negative about finance or something limiting about finance, you would carry that through the rest of your life, wouldn't you?
Yes. If you're hurt, for example, or you if you're taught that way and you've been doing it, you feel comfortable to continue what you've been doing. But sometimes you do have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah. But I wonder, so you've got a very regimented approach from your family, but they couldn't have gotten it all right. Did they ever give you like bad advice that you carried through?
Yes, the approach is pretty simple. Save up before you buy anything. Or you don't have this money, you don't borrow and then just to spend it. And so that's the concept I always have. I found that's good in a way that I try to only buy things when I have the money, so meaning living within my means. But it's not so great in terms of taking some risk to invest.
Right, yeah. And I think especially because the financial landscape changes over time, our attitudes must also evolve to match the times, but often it doesn't unless we consciously make an effort to.
Yes.
So I think maybe investing maybe wasn't so popular, I don't know, 30 years ago. I'm making that up. I don't know if that's true. But maybe it wasn't accessible or available for your family.
I think so.
Maybe that's a better way to frame it. But now that it's like
we're
a
a different
different time.
world now.
Yeah.
Yes, there's so many tools that can help you. But back then, maybe all they know is to survive. All they think of is just bring us up, safe and sound. That's all they hope for.
And it seems like they sort of lumped any sort of borrowing of money or anything that wasn't in your hands as like debt. And that's not necessarily true, is it?
They're very scared about even investment. You don't have the money, you can't buy this. You can't borrow money to buy shares, for example. You can't borrow money to buy investment house. They are good debts and bad debts. If you are borrowing money to spend on luxury items, consumable items, they're not necessarily good for you. There's nothing for your future.
Yeah, that's not like a good debt. Like if you took out a credit card and went traveling around Europe, maybe that's not the best example of a good debt, right?
Yeah, maybe you want to do it once in your life, but if you have saved up for significant money for that, maybe that's not a bad thing. But if you borrow money, you have enough deposits, and you borrow money and you want to buy an investment house or any other investment forms, or maybe invest in a car that's purely for work purpose, maybe that will increase your chance to make more money. So these are very different concepts.
Yes, because as I understand it, cars depreciate in value, but if you're buying a car for work purposes and you're taking out a loan, that's tax deductible, so it's no longer a bad debt. But you can't say across the board. Yeah, exactly. So it needs to be a calculated decision.
Yes.
So that, I guess, is the real difference between bad debt and good debt, is like intention.
Yes.
What is its purpose?
Yes.
Do you have the capacity to pay it back? Do you have a plan on returning that money? Do you have any other examples of what a good debt versus a bad debt might look like?
Yeah, the examples I gave, I think the most common one is just credit card debt. People buy something on impulse without thinking the cost of living. Am I spending too much? Am I spending too much on the luxury items I don't necessarily need? Do I actually have the capacity to pay back?
Right.
And things like buying a luxury handbag.
Yeah.
Do I need another bag? Do I need another pair of shoes?
I think of, when you say that, the first thought that comes to my mind is Afterpay. Is that a form of bad debt, would you say?
Definitely, especially they're mainly for consumable items.
Yeah, okay. If they're not appreciating in value, then I guess.
Yeah, and also maybe you need one bag. You just need a couple of good bags, and yes, go for it. But I still prefer, my method of it is usually save up enough to buy it rather than borrow the money I don't have to pay for a luxury item. Yeah. But if you are thinking to grow your business, I need, say, a car, and that will get me to further places. Yeah. And then borrow money to help you now to achieve more business opportunities, maybe not a bad thing. Yeah, and also like sometimes luxury items, if done right, I think can move you forward positively because you're playing the status game, right? You're doing a branding thing. You're like, oh, look at my Prada bag. Look at my, I don't know, my Louis Vuitton shoes. I'm so fancy. We know it's just a cosplaying of like... it could be part of your branding, yes. But you don't need...
But you don't need to go excessive.
10 pairs of them.
Yeah. That's it. That's the difference. Same thing, like you don't need 10 cars or like...
Yes.
So... Okay, so I've got a question.
Yes.
So your parents kind of taught you, or your upbringing culture instilled this idea that any form of debt is bad debt and that you should live within your means. But that must have limited your capacity when you came to Australia, because a lot of people have debt here. I think it's kind of normal. And it also means that you can't really invest in anything because it's framed as debt in your mind. How did you unchain yourself from this fear? Like, how did you get over that belief?
A couple of things helped me. One is once I was in Australia, I realized that borrowing money is pretty easy and very common. People do have a bigger risk appetite to borrow money from borrowing money for a car, credit card, Afterpay. There's so many different ways, and it's totally common. And the second thing is, yes, I have been educating myself by studying, reading from books to learn how to manage my money better. One of the book I really remember was really helping me with money investing was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
A very famous book that I would recommend everybody. It's very easy storytelling. Everybody can get feel related to it. I would recommend if you want to have a read about it. It will give you a different concept about what a good dad, bad dad is.
Okay. How long did it take you to read that book? Is it an accessible book?
Yes. I usually read when I travel on the train, sit on the train, sit on the plane.
Okay.
And I found probably, because my trip is usually short, 2 or 3 hours, and take me only a few days.
Okay.
Just little bits at a time. You can finish it within a week.
Okay, and you got a lot of value from that book.
Definitely.
What's like one lesson that you learned from that book, if you can remember?
Borrow money is okay. If it's for investment.
So you got permission from this book, really. Yes. And I can understand that, like, especially if your upbringing, like, especially if they were strict about, don't do this, you kind of need permission to not do that thing because it was instilled to you at a vulnerable formative age. But what I'm hearing is that our environment, the information that we surround ourselves with, maybe even the people that we surround ourselves with, has a huge impact in how we understand and approach finance.
Definitely.
And I think that also is one of the reasons why I wanted to start the Bigger Sister Channel community podcast, because I wanted to create a safe space where we can grow and share our stories so we can surround ourselves with positive lessons, raise our awareness when it comes to our own financial behaviors and attitudes, because otherwise we're quite isolated as sex workers, aren't we?
Yes. And
we have to manage it all ourselves, and we don't have the same access to financial resources, like a planner or people, like, especially even if you did have access though, you still have to battle with stigma.
Yes, I think that's the hard part for accessing to any services in this industry, really.
Yeah. And like, I've heard too many stories about too many of my friends that have gone to like a tax accountant or someone in the financial world, and they're just asking really personal questions that are not related to finance.
Similar, you go to a GP, they start asking very personal questions.
That's happened to me when I was at a gynecologist, because I said I was a sex worker, and she was like, "Are you safe?" And I said, "Is that a medically relevant question?" I went deadpan, and I was like, "Is that a medically relevant question?" And she shut her mouth after that. But yeah, you have to really dig your heels in if they come at you with that preconceived notions, and it's not helpful for you either.
Definitely, you are in a vulnerable position. That's why you go for help.
Exactly.
And then people take advantage, or they're generally just curious, but they didn't know that they're actually invading a lot of your personal space.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're telling them what you need. They don't need to tell you what your problems are. Like you are presenting with the problem. They just have to listen and respond to
offer you help, because that's their specialty. That's what you're hoping to get, but you don't always get that. But I totally understand, because this is such a taboo industry that.
Well, kind of like, I don't know if this was true for you, but for me growing up, like we didn't really talk about money, like other people, like other families' money and stuff like that, because it was seen as like rude or like improper or not polite. So even finance was a bit of a taboo topic.
That's interesting, but I do agree. It's not something we talk about much. But I think the two reasons: one is our parents may not be educated through their family,
True.
as well as so they don't know how to manage their own money. They probably just work all their life.
You know what? My family, I come from a strong line of laborers. All they do is work. And I actually had a little bit of a breakthrough the other day. Not a breakthrough, but a realization. Because because I'm disabled, my capacity reduces like one system at a time. So like I won't be able to eat and then I won't be able to sleep, blah, 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 blah. But the last thing to go is my work ethic. So I can be in the worst state in the world and I'll still should be able to show up to work like completely normal and execute whatever my profession is at that day. And my brothers are exactly the same. They're hard laborers. Like they can be, their life can be completely chaos. My mum's exactly the same as well. So she, it's just something that we took with us. And so we always went paycheck to paycheck, working. That was how we framed. But we never, I never knew how to make more money than that.
Well, you definitely should read the book. And so this is from the family, isn't it? Yeah, I believe so. My mom doesn't talk about money. She only tells us to save up money before you spend it.
Yeah.
And always save up for your future.
Yeah.
And that's all we knew. But that's one thing I noticed when I grew up. A lot of things, especially money, is not something taught by your family or your school or your uni.
No.
But it's taught through life, through self-education.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like if your parents teach you everything they know about finance, that doesn't mean they know everything about finance.
No.
They're just teaching you what they know. And it might be 1% of the actual knowledge that is out there. And so you have to consciously try to learn more.
Yes.
If you want to be in a better position, I suppose, than your family was in. I mean, that I'm kind of doing that at the moment, and I feel like everyone that's listening right now is kind of in the same boat, and we're all kind of like, well, how do we get better? How do
we're interested, and hopefully we can share and learn from each other and all get better together.
Okay, so I've got a new question for you. So given your mindset, living within your means, quite controlled, does that mean when you entered the industry, which I think was 5 years ago?
Yes.
Did you have a financial plan?
Well, I did have a rough plan because I did do I wanted to work for myself, therefore I changed into this industry. And then I did look up what potential costs I need, what things I might need to get into the industry, and I did. How did
you find that information?
You can look up online the advertising, how much it might cost you, and you consider, well, if I need to advertise, I need photos and how much it might cost me. You can look up some photography website.
And this is for private solo work.
Yes, I've been an independent escort, so this is for an independent escort, potentially getting to the market. So the cost involved to set yourself up, the cost to advertise yourself.
Do you remember what that number was?
Oh my goodness.
Just curiously, because I think I did something somewhat similar, but that was 14 years ago, and I do not remember the number.
Yeah, that's much longer, isn't it? Photography, probably you will allow for 1,000. Advertising, if you want to do 6 months, would be, I think the current, probably front page or no front page.
Yeah, it depends on what type of advertising, how many directories.
Say 1,500. And then you might have to get your makeup, hair done.
Yeah, okay.
And outfits.
Yeah, okay.
So that can go a lot if you want to spend more, or you can do it yourself.
So really, if you do have a financial plan entering the industry, it's like...
If you have a few $1,000, at least you need to hire a location as well on top of that.
Yeah, okay.
So that's just to do an ad. Not to mention you set up a work phone, and then over time you start to manage the messages, your marketing, all these domains, set up a website, costs money and time.
And you have no assurances that you're going to get work, or that you're going to like the work, or that you can do the work.
No. So there's a lot involved, and changing from one career to the other without knowing too much about what this industry is like was risky. So yes, I have a bit of rough time to get started. Yes, I set myself up and I didn't get work straight away.
So did things go according to plan? So you're like, all right, I'm gonna get this financial buffer to pay for everything, my new business. I'm starting a new business. I'm working for myself. I'm guessing you probably had a little buffer just in case you didn't get work.
For a few months, maybe 2-3 months.
Okay.
And I thought that's what I thought things would just get started, but in fact, no. And you think, and at the beginning, you even don't know whether this potential message is genuine or not.
Yeah.
You spend so much time. I reply to every single message. Now thinking back, most of them, you just know that this isn't going nowhere.
Yeah, but that comes with experience, spotting the time wasters, because as soon as you put yourself online as a sexually available person, doesn't matter what the terms of consent are, guys are just going to flood your phone with messages.
That's what I thought, but no, and you get so many messages that one word message, hi babe, or
yeah, they're just like want to have a chat, like as if you're just like
you're sitting there, have no life, and you wear makeup all night.
Yeah, exactly.
Sitting on your bed.
You sleep with the makeup, and you're just lonely. You just need a man.
Yeah, and you just have too much time.
Exactly.
But that's not true. You spend much time just like everybody else, living, do everything you need to do just to live, and you do have to dedicate time to work like everybody else. So that's the misconception I have. And the money become irregular. I used to work a corporate job, 9-to-5 job. So I have regular income. Every 2 weeks I have a paycheck.
Right, yeah.
So no longer on salary. And it was difficult for me to plan my money because I have a regular income. I have these regular expenses. Now the income is irregular, the expenses, certain things definitely are regular.
Yeah.
Then you're thinking, oh, how am I going to manage if after 3 months that money is so fine in between? What do I do? So therefore, I thought I need some structure. I need some help. So I decided to go to an agency.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So let me get this straight. So you started, even though you had a plan, even with your regimented, like,
I thought my money was sorted, but no, it wasn't.
You came in with a buffer, and you still didn't find that reliable, consistent income.
No.
You were spending too much time on time wasters and energy, and you had no assurances. And so you went to an agency for more structure and reliability. Is that right?
Yes. I'm hoping it would be, I can learn from them. Hopefully I will feel safe and I will start having more regular income.
So for those that don't know, if you're not based in Melbourne, there's a very limited choice with agencies, especially before we got decriminalisation in Victoria. And what it meant is, because only agencies had licensing, and that you couldn't get a license, it was too hard. So no one else could start an agency. They had the monopoly, and so they treated their workers like shit. And everyone in Melbourne kind of knows this. But if you are new to the industry and you're trying to work legally, so how long did you last in one of these agencies?
I think it's around 6 to 8 months.
That is a lot more than I've heard.
I lasted for a long time. I realized, I thought, wow, I could have left a lot earlier. I should have.
So how did you last that? Like, did you know that you were sort of being in bad working conditions?
I did not know what this industry was like when I entered. I wanted to get real experience and hopefully learn from them. But what I did not know, actually thinking back, it wasn't great at all. The working
But you had no reference point.
Yes. So I thought, is it what it's meant to be like? So I kind of accepted. I think
you just accepted your fate.
No, I'm just pissed off.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah, it's like I've heard this so many times from different workers, but yeah, unless you have a frame of reference, sometimes people can't recognize abuse or exploitation or
what is not right. What is the limit? I think I would say, I must admit, I stayed too long. Too long.
I'm surprised you had the...
Until there's a pressure from them. When I was put on pressure, because I had prepaid my Scarlet Blue profile
Okay.
for 6 months, and at the time they start pressuring me that I have to give up my prepaid advertising with Scarlet Blue
Okay.
if I wish to continue to work with them.
Okay.
And then I prepare for 6 months. So I say no. I have spent. We just talk about quite a bit of money for me to set myself up. So there's no way I was going to give up my ad. So I said, well, they basically forced me to make that decision to leave them.
Okay, so hold on. So at around the 6 to 9 month mark, you were kind of like, what made you go, okay, I'm going to activate my Scarlet Blue ad again? Like sorry, for those that don't know, Scarlet Blue is just one of the directories. We don't like that. No, not anymore. Anyways, go on.
Yes, I actually always have that ad.
But like, what made you activate it again?
It actually was never turned off.
So it was on the whole time?
It was on the whole time.
Okay, interesting. And then they caught on, and then they try to bully you, intimidate you, pressure you, because this is the tactics. So like third parties sometimes, like in theory, sound good because they're supposed to provide safety, security, job security, income, admin, training, protection, whatever you want to call it. But there's always going to be business decisions that are a conflict of interest to your safety and to your terms of consent, and they're always going to preference their business interests. So that's exactly what they did with you. They were like, I don't give a damn about, your right to make your own income. And I think if you were like any other subcontractor can have many clients.
Any job, say you're a tradie, you can work for 3 different jobs at the same time.
And no one can be like, you're our tradie. You can't work for anyone.
As long as you don't say steal their clients, for example, then it's fine. If you just work your own clients and you work for their clients, I can't see what's the reason you can't work parallel.
So I know that like in places like England, like workers often do work for multiple agencies at the same time. But I know here in Melbourne, because of that monopoly thing, and they were trying to stronghold their power, and they had the bargaining power, and they knew they could get away with it because we had slim pickings for legal working conditions. So they forced a lot of people to work just for them, and they used bullying, intimidation, to do that. But anyways, so so even though you had this, like, I would say a rather positive mindset, very planned, very articulate, you still managed to get yourself in a pretty bad spot.
It was, yeah. I would say the adventure part, which is experiencing this industry, was fun, but with the agency, the management part was bad.
Yes. So, but the whole reason you went to the agency is because you wanted structure and reliability, because that is how your financial attitude or outlook, as predetermined by upbringing and family, was designed. You wanted that sort of fixed income or reliable income to be able to plan ahead and make decisions. You didn't have that control, so you went to what was known as familiar for you, right? You thought that was comfortable.
Yes.
But it was kind of the worst decision you could have.
Oh, yes, definitely. I realized that I could manage things a lot better.
Yeah.
Definitely operational-wise, advertising-wise, as well as money-wise, I can manage much better myself. So then I thought, at that time, I had that feeling, but I happened to be there pressuring me, so I left. It was an easy decision to make.
Yeah, because they made you do the decision, and they thought you would have been too insecure. Yeah, they thought you'd be too, but you didn't, because you're a boss bitch.
I did not realize. I thought, I could do much better.
Good.
It's time to go.
You need the audacity sometimes in this industry.
Yeah, to push you.
Yeah, and I would highly recommend the audacity for workers in this industry, because I see so many people like talk themselves down, or like, I can't do this, I can't do that, and it's like, why? Did you even try?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can. And I think as well, so once you are out of this agency, you're back to square one with your problem, right? Inconsistent income. So how do you get over that?
Yes and no. I think yes. I can't say I wasted all the 6 to 8 months.
No, you definitely learned something. It was just like the hard. It was just like the
in a hard
hardest
way. Yes, I realized that I have gained confidence after that. I thought I could do this. I definitely can do this myself. So one thing I take away from the agency is that I don't need to rely on them. I can do it myself. One thing I do also realize is that it would be nice to have some kind of support from our industry, and therefore I think doing this podcast is such a great
peer-to-peer support.
Yes,
that's the thing. Like if you do need that support, security, safety, you can just reach out to your peers typically, and we will do that for each other because our interest, because we have empathy and because we know what it would be like in that situation, is generally to help each other, because we don't want that to happen to us, so we treat others how we want to be treated.
Yes.
Does that mean, like, is that how you found, like, I guess, structure? Did you find peers when you left the agency? How did you get your clients? How long did it take you before you felt like secure again?
Yeah, a good old few months. I would say a good old few months. But then I learned you just have to be patient. And once you start seeing regular clients and things become, then I tried a few different things. I tried to start touring.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just what works for me, what doesn't work. I think, and then you start very slowly making friends in the industry. You start to learn more.
I definitely think, like, just by talking to other workers, you need at least 6 months as an independent worker to really find your footing. You're not going to find it any sooner. And like you said, you have to try different things. You can't just do one thing for 1 month and be like, it didn't work, I'm a failure. But, like, you don't know the market, you don't know the industry. You need to figure it out for yourself, and that requires a bit of experience. You need to give yourself about not just the money, but you need to give yourself the time to get your footing.
Yes.
Okay, great. I feel like we're learning so much. Okay.
I'm having fun.
So after all of this, your experience, what are some advice that you would give to others? Like, what do you wish someone told you when you first started in the industry, or especially around money and how that impacts our behavior?
Yeah, I think we always have to educate ourselves in terms of money, and it's okay, start small, don't be afraid. Give it time, give it patience, small steps to achieve, and once you set yourself up, things will accelerate a little bit faster for you. Right.
I do find, like, from my own independent research about finance, because I'm designing the economic empowerment program on the Big Sister channel, I have to learn all the financial stuff. But that is a lesson that keeps coming up, like compound interest. Like, you've got to do all these, like, tiny little things, and you've got to set up a system, and then, like, 20 years you're a millionaire or something. Apparently that's how it's done.
It gets easier over time.
Yes, it gets easier, and that's something that I was never taught when I was a kid. It was always work hard, and it will pay off. If you work hard, that is how you're going to get your millions or your...
You work hard to start with, and then you have to build.
But it's not even working hard, it's working patiently, strategically.
Well. Yes.
And knowing exactly how your money is moving, not exactly how your money is
what
moving.
You're spending on, for example.
Yeah, you have a better idea of... But how did you learn that lesson of, like, taking things slow or patiently at the small steps, and how the speed of money moves?
I think, yes, no matter how many books you read, partially is how I am experiencing as well. Okay. The waiting game is really stressful at the beginning. Yeah, but once you set yourself up, you know what's your boundary in terms of work, what you feel comfortable, what you don't feel comfortable, and then you kind of accept that, okay, this is probably what my regular income is going to look like, and you know your regular expenses. Once you kind of set a routine, then you know this is roughly where you'll be like, and then you work on that, knowing what percentage of the leftovers or the profit you are happy to invest, and then you can go from there. And once you have regularly set up your investment routine or saving routine, that will just grow. Okay, so look, this all sounds easier said than done. How do you put it all into practice? Like, what do you actually do? I have a very simple system. You can also, you need to know where your money is. You need to record it, and
How do you do that?
there's no
We
no
have cash.
other way. Yes, this is a money business. What we're in.
Yeah.
I have a simple system I set up in an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
You can do it in an accounting system, which I found it easier to just start with a spreadsheet, which it costs you nothing.
True.
Yes, all you do is you record your income, you also record your expenses when it happens. Say you have a booking, you record the date or time, and you record, say, you can make more notes about how long is the booking, how much you're expecting from the booking. You can set it up just before the booking, how much deposit you have received, so you know how much balance you need to receive on the day. And on the day, if it's cancelled, for example, so you may not receive the balance, but you have the deposit. So you might write down this is actual receive from this booking, or the booking actually did go ahead. Then you can write down how much total I actually received from the booking. But sometimes you get a tip. You might get more than what you're actually expecting. So you definitely have an expected income, but you also write down your actual income, because that might be different from each booking. As we are cash business, I record it as it happens. When I take a booking, it might be a few days before. I write down all the notes. I know what to expect, but on the day it might be different. So you do have to book in your actual.
Yeah. Okay. So you needed to take a few records. I know, because I did some daily income tracking of expenses, which was really hard, by the way. Very, very hard. And I don't know how to use Excel either. Like, I came from a very low socioeconomic area. I came from the worst school in the state. And we didn't learn Excel. So I tried to do the Excel spreadsheet, but it was absolutely chaos. And it was very stressful, in fact. Do you think maybe I could have your Excel spreadsheet?
Yes. But you will probably, you need a couple of basic, I think, yes, you can. At least you can. It will help you a little bit more. At least you see the structure.
Can I share that Excel spreadsheet with our listeners?
Yes. It's a very small, humble spreadsheet, but yes, if you want to have a look at it, most welcome.
Okay, thank you. That is exactly the type of exchange I was hoping for as part of the community podcast and the whole community building for the economic empowerment of sex workers, is like trading our skills, trading our knowledge, trading our stories, trading our resources and our tools. So thank you for offering your Excel spreadsheet. If you would like access to that spreadsheet, I will have somewhere on the internet, hopefully in the show notes, how you can do that. And I will happily send that to you. So this is, we're like slowly building up our, I suppose, our knowledge base, so we can become economically empowered as sex workers. But for you, like you've helped us, well, you've helped me and the community by offering your Excel spreadsheet. What can I do for you? What do you need to feel economically empowered as a sex worker?
Oh, I think, yes, always. For me, my part, I want to feel safe. I think short-term, long-term. Long-term goal is financial security for the future, probably retirement.
Right.
The shorter term will be always work safely. I think safety is very important for me. Mentally, physically, I want to be always safe and not taking on unnecessary risk. If you like, some risk is okay, it's actually good, but not unnecessary risk, meaning be safe at work.
So I feel like as part of the economic empowerment program for sex workers, we'll definitely look at creating safety nets or safeguards so you don't feel financial pressure as much as maybe you used to, and that way that doesn't affect your decision making, so you're not taking unnecessary risks because of that sort of that pressure. And I also want to look into, as part of the program, building long-term wealth, because unless you're making that money work for you, you're going to have to keep doing the one-on-one service job, like of bookings. Until you learn how to make money from money, you're just going to be working for money.
Yes.
So I will figure that out at some point.
That sounds exciting.
I will share it with everyone. Don't worry. Okay, so I just kind of want to wrap up the key takeaways from this interview, this storytelling. So, like, tell me if I've got this wrong, but maybe the first takeaway is don't hire third parties if you can't manage. We've got peer support and education. It's much more effective, and we don't have a conflict of interest or any ulterior motives, which is also why you should subscribe to all the Bigger Sister channel platforms, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing peer education and support. And remember, it does take at least 6 months for you to land on your feet when you're doing solo work. So if you're not doing well, don't take unnecessary risks. Don't start at an agency in Melbourne because there's not that many good ones. And yeah, instead go ask your peers. Another takeaway is, I think, that family has a huge impact on our mindset, and whether we are conscious of it or not, we default to what we know, especially when things get tough. We sometimes have to resist the temptation of familiarity because although it is comfortable, it is not necessarily safe or good for you. This is true even if you default into good habits or practices, because ideas get outdated and you need to be specific for the situation you need. The world around you changes, your mindset has to change with it. Yes. Otherwise you'll be stuck like a time capsule. In time.
If you want to do well, yes, you do have to be aware of time is changing.
Exactly. And maybe a third takeaway is don't be afraid to take control of your financial situation. Start small, track your income, set automated investments, be curious, do 1% increments of improvement at a time. You don't have to do it all at once. I don't expect anyone to be like, okay, I've done it all. This is going to take a lot of time, but you have to be persistent with it. You have to keep trying to do 1% better. You can't do it all at once. And you won't feel the impact either. Like, you won't see any of the benefits immediately.
Not in the short term.
That's not how money works. But together, at least we can set up the journey, and hopefully in 20 years' time, we'll all be millionaires.
We'll learn better. Yeah, start small. I would say one thing to add on the spreadsheet is, yes, you record your income, but you also record because I'm talking about business side of things. So you record your business income, but you also need to record your expenses.
Right, okay, because you need
expenses. Then you know, you can analyze it on a monthly basis. You add them all up and make them together. So you know your total income for the month, total business expense for the month. Then you know whether you're making money for the month.
Right, okay, and then that sort of helps you decide
how I'm doing this month.
Yeah, and distribute your...
Then you can think about what happened that month. Why am I not doing well? Am I spending too much?
Yeah.
Or this month I'm doing well because I have more bookings. It help you to realize, thinking back, you can do better. You can maybe find a pattern for yourself. Are you always spending too much on certain items? Or are you making money at a certain time of a month? Yeah, so this is helping you to manage your business and your money better.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Gina Sinclair, for sharing your stories with us today. I know it's not always safe to share your story as a sex worker, but I really appreciate you coming on, being honest about what your experiences in the industry. And we'll be back in about a month's time with a new guest. If you're a sex worker, that could be you. Just check the podcast notes and I can send you an info kit to be interviewed. It's a PDF. It just has a few questions on it. I want to hear from everyone. I want a nice diverse bunch of voices on this podcast. And if you want to join the Bigger Sister channel in achieving your financial goals, I recommend following us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, our blog on Substack. We also are doing weekly videos on YouTube where we will learn together in small increments, those 1% increments, about how to manage our finances. We also have a monthly newsletter on our website, biggersisterchannel.com.au. Thank you everyone for your time and listening or watching this podcast. But before we leave, I just have one final thing to do or say. Hold on. I'm going to do this like really important. Hold on.
Ooh.
I got you some flowers.
Oh my goodness!
Cute. I want to.
That's so pretty. Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no
Yeah.
Okay, bye.